In our lab, we're interested in human ingested behaviour. So we're interested in answering questions about what makes us choose the foods that we eat. Why do we eat the amount that we eat? And what is it that controls our appetite? In our modern dietary environment, we're exposed to thousands of different types of food, so different brands and varieties, portion sizes, and so on. But for the first time, we've been trying to figure out how exposure to this degree of complexity might influence our food intake and possibly our waistlines. We've been given a fantastic opportunity to test some of our ideas and models in what I think is probably an ideal environment. The Samburu are a group of semi-nomadic pastoralists who live in remote areas of central northern Kenya. They have a low BMI and, importantly, they haven't been exposed to the same variety of manufactured foods. So traditionally they've tended to consume just a handful of foods, primarily meat and blood and milk. This makes them an ideal group to study because we can compare their behaviour with that of participants and people in the West. It might enable us to expose important cross-cultural differences that could hold the key to understanding the effects of dietary complexity in a Western diet. Now, the Samburu have never been tested in this way, and we certainly have never been on a field trip like this before.
Okay, I'm here in Samburu and in the house we're staying in, and we've made some last-minute decisions to change the food recipe a little bit, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm mixing some clear gel, water and sucralose to make the food preloads.
One simple but very effective technique for understanding the way that people respond to different foods is to use a procedure that's known as the preload test meal procedure. The basic idea is that we take a food that we're interested in, we call that the preload, then we feed that to people, and then we wait a fixed period of time, and then we ask people to eat ad libitum, to eat freely as much food as they like afterwards. The critical measure here is the amount of food that they eat. If the food isn't very satisfying, then we expect people to eat rather more ad libitum at the test meal. If it's rather satisfying, then we expect to see their intake moderated. A lot of our time has been spent manipulating the basic sensory characteristics of food, so we're very interested in the effects of different levels of sweetness on test meal intake. But over the days we've also manipulated other things. We've been looking at the effects of different fat concentrations as well, and based on previous results from our collaborator John Holtzman and also observations here, we can see that they've very rarely been exposed to any what you might call artificial sweetness. And so it's interesting to compare the way they respond to certain foods with the responses that we get, for instance, in Bristol, where we're surrounded by thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different types of food.
Yeah, I said na.
An interesting implication of this cross-cultural comparison is that they don't necessarily draw the distinction between drinks and food that we do, and so therefore they may consume sugar-sweetened beverages, in particular tea and soda, yet they think of those as foods. So for instance, we've found that it's extremely common for someone to report that their breakfast that morning was a cup of tea, in which they would put quite a bit of sugar, yet they think of that sweetened tea as a food that was, satisfying and filling. And unlike Westerners may think of a cup of tea as a beverage that has nothing to do with how full they would feel.
So we've been here about 18 days, 16 days of solid testing, and this is the dream team that made it possible. Can I have a big cheer, please?
Sorry.
In Kenya, we were struck by vivid cross-cultural differences that really challenged several core assumptions that we held previously. In particular, we suspect that the Samburu were especially sensitive to calories in sweetened soft drinks, and this is an issue that's received quite a lot of attention in the media recently. Our hypothesis is that in the UK, our diet is perhaps more diverse and maybe more complex than is good for us. And one idea is that this disrupts or compromises our ability to respond to calories in certain foods and drinks.
These larger samples in front of you.
To explore this idea, we're now running the same studies in people who are based in the UK. And we look forward to sharing these findings once we've completed these exciting cross-cultural comparisons.